book of Daniel. So we come into the book of Daniel, and Daniel is such a rich read. You talk about a guy that has seen so much, experiences just as much, and has visions on visions and all these things. And so we're just going to compile what we read, right? We're not going to focus on what theologies and what doctrines and what things come out of this. We're just going to focus solely on what we read. So we hear the story about these four guys specifically. We mainly hear about this guy named Daniel, but we hear about these other three guys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is what their Babylonian names were. We hear about how they persevered in the face of adversity, how they persevered in not compromising on what they believed, not compromising on what God spoke to them, not compromising on what God was doing in them and what they had been taught and entrusted with. And we see that they're presented with many cases of having to stand firm on their faith. We start to see that these kings, one king after another king after another king, some rise to power and elevate, and others fall and crumble and don't last very long. We see that Daniel is put again and again in a situation where his admiration, his respect, and his loyalty to our God is what makes him be the go-to guy after the fact. That he's the one that was sought after to interpret dreams and to interpret visions and to explain the phenomenons. He is the one that is looked up after to be able to understand what is happening. And Daniel isn't just this average guy. We see that Daniel prays 3 times a day. We see that Daniel seeks zealously after God. We see to the point where Daniel actually fasts and refuses to partake in any type of pleasure or food for 3 weeks just to understand what God was trying to do. And we see that in the book of Daniel, we see the actual names of 2 angels. Now remember, we haven't seen other names of angels all the way up into this book. We haven't even heard mentions of angels for quite some time at this point in the Bible. But yet here we get introduced to 2 of them. We get introduced to a guy named Gabriel and a guy named Michael. And their function and their role is very quick and very simple. We see that Gabriel was just there to explain what God was trying to say. And then we see Michael just show up because he was in the middle of a combat zone. As we read the book of Daniel, we see that there's so many visions and so many things that leave and beg the question, what does all this stuff mean? What are all the details that I'm overlooking? What is a time of a time of a time? Why is it that all these things are happening to Israel? Why did he throw them into the den of lions? We're left with so many questions when we don't know any of the insights. Now, these are the parts of the Bible where being able to do a deep dive, to actually study and get into these intricacies of what these things could mean and what are the historical proofs that, can give us some insight on this part. And overall, the message is still clear. God's faithfulness and God's desire for humanity to be saved is coming soon. God is getting ready to do something, and he's doing it in a way where these kings that have come and enslaved his people are going to fall. Right now, they're still in sin. They're still enslaved. They're still paying the consequences of what they've done wrong, but God has not forgotten them. And he's sending a redeemer. He's sending this guy named the Son of Man to come and redeem them, to save them. And that Son of Man will be elevated to a point above everyone else at the right hand of God. That's the book of Daniel. I'll talk to you guys soon.